Okay, welcome to the COP monthly meeting, January 26th. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order and get a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion. Second.
Right? All in favor, put your hand up, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. All abstained. Thank you. All right, so it looks like we have um, four items. Let's go ahead and knock out the approve the meeting minutes. The motion to do that.
Motion to approve meeting minutes.
June.
Second.
Second from Joe. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Abstain. Thank you. All right, let's get into Roman number 3, which is the proposal, a potential bylaw amendment for the 2026 annual meeting.
Thanks, John. So the committee knows I shared this a couple of draft record date bylaw changes from a few different co-ops around the state, CORE, Holy Cross, and United Power, United Power. And so the law is basically that a record date fixed under this section of the law through the bylaws may not be more than 70 days before a meeting or action requiring a determination of the members occurs. So that's really our legal limit. If we want to propose a record date, would be not more than 70 days out. So the point of a record date, it would be really beneficial to staff and also to the board. We get a lot of sort of last minute staff crunches on verifying who is and isn't eligible to vote right up before the annual meeting. Record date is very standard corporate law on setting the parameters on who is and isn't allowed to vote. So if we kind of roll through a couple of these, you can see that CORES sets theirs at to vote by written ballot is one date, which is 45 days prior to the date of the annual meeting, and that for those who are entitled to vote in person is the date of the annual meeting. This is effectively sort of how we operate ours, just because that's what we have to do when our whoever has been printing our ballots for us, when they go out, that's sort of effectively what happens anyway. Holy Cross sets theirs as votes of members who are on the records of the books 30 days or more prior to the date of the election and in good standing shall be counted. This is be what I'm sort of leaning towards, because it would basically align the ballot voting and the in-person voting the same. It clears up the question of what happens to people who become members after the ballots go out. And United Powers is more general, where the board fixes the date in advance, just not to be more than 50 days nor less than 10 days. I didn't follow up with United on sort of how often, what they set that date often as, but that is, it kind of leaves flexibility with the board. So, like I said, my recommendation is along the lines of Holy Crosses. It's nice to sort of, we already have some provisions that say the ballots are supposed to go out about 30 days ahead of time. And so if we can correlate the record date with the ballot date, it would really, really simplify things for us and for our third-party election managers.
Do we need specific language to come out of our meeting today, or what do we need to do today?
At this point, I would say we can. I've pretty much recommended copying Holy Cross's article for Section 9. But we can sort of work through and have debate over if people think, vesting the authority in the board to do it through sort of a window on an annual basis is valuable, or to bifurcate it like the board does. They're all legitimate and would add some clarification that would be
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. I just didn't know what the process. I don't know that we've ever dealt with a bylaw change in this committee that I can remember. So I just want to know kind of the process. That looks fine to me.
So yeah, so what would happen with this is that the committee would recommend something to the full board, who would then move to put it on the ballot. And so any of these provisions would need member approval. So it would just be, this would be a proposal that the board would then recommend that the members adopt.
So what is the consequence of not doing this?
So the consequence of not doing this is that we would sort of stay in our status quo, which is um, basically that we allow people who register to become members between the date that the ballots go out and the date that the annual meeting happens to vote it's basically, we function like Core's bylaw right now of having if you're not on the membership list at the day the ballots go out, you don't get a mail ballot, but you can vote in person.
Okay. Is there do we have any other pending items that will need a member vote?
This was the most clear one that had a lot of push from the election supervisory committee, who sort of has to double check all the roles of who is and isn't authorized to vote and stuff like that. This has been where the real push has been coming. I don't have any other bylaws that I'm suggesting at this time.
Okay. What I have an opinion on this, but what do you think, David, Chris?
Yeah, the 30 days is fine on what Holy Cross is doing. I just got a quick question. So we're going electronically, and what if you're a new member and it's within that 30-day window, would you have access electronically? Can you even get to it or not? Because I was just thinking of the ESC, if it's something electric, that might be hard to catch.
Yeah, no, if you became a member after the ballots go out, you can vote in person at the annual meeting. That's the only thing that we can accommodate through, and that was really the only thing we could accommodate when Tiffany Lee was running our elections. It's the only thing we can accommodate when Survey and Ballot Systems is running our
Right.
elections. It really is.
Right, but my question is, I'm a member, I'm a new member
Mhm.
after that 30-day window, like 15 days late.
Mhm.
I could not, can I or can I not access the electronic ballot?
You should not be able to
Okay.
access that electronic
If we
ballot.
lock it down, that's fine. I think it'd help
Yeah.
out the
No,
ES.
that's what SBS sort of wants that too, because they want to just say,
Correct.
we're done. And then they freeze, we freeze the members list on the record date, and that's who can and can't ballot.
Okay. That makes
Can't
it easier.
vote.
And then they can come in, like you're saying, we do have something for a new member. They can vote, but they have to vote in person.
That's what we're currently doing, which is basically this core
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, and just for context, we get about 50 new members a month.
Okay.
In case folks are wondering how many people or how many members would this affect, it's going to be roughly 50 would be per month. So as you think about the window, that's the size of the issue.
Correct.
So my opinion on this is that in light of the amount of pressure that and energy that's currently going into wanting a member ballot for other items I would rather take this whole issue and put it in the pocket put it in our pocket for next year. In that I don't want any member ballot, um, any member votes going out unless they absolutely have to go out. And then if we do have to do a member vote I'm sorry, I keep saying ballot, I mean a vote, that, we bundle this up with a whole bunch of items, and put a bunch of energy on it. This is so administrative in nature that, um, I actually think it'll, has the potential for political, um, energizing a political conversation over what is fundamentally just an a minor administrative matter. And I'd rather just be like, oh, we have 4 or 5 things we're trying to clean up next year, and here they all are swept into one big set of votes. So, I think the cleaner that we go into this election, and the cleaner we go into, the April 1 cutover with the fewer moving parts, the better. So my personal opinion is that we kick this down the road a year.
So just kind of hold for a bundle, I hear
Yep.
is what I hear you saying.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
I mean, I think administratively we can handle that. That's not, yeah, there's not a giant impact here. Graham, any red flags?
No, I mean we've managed to make this work. It's administratively painful and time consuming and things of that nature, but I mean it is what it is, right? I'm not.
Yeah.
But the ESC is wanting this, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
like to give, some authority to those folks who are volunteering and, on the ground working with this on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm.
But they're not volunteers, are they? We're paying them.
Well, yeah,
Yeah. But
essentially, yeah.
yes, but there are also, I mean, yes, and they would like this resolved. But I think it's
Okay.
My concern about bundling is I think when you bundle a bunch of stuff in our kind of organization with the limited number of people who actually pay attention to these sort of administrative things, I think we get ourselves more in trouble with that than keeping things simple and straightforward, and a small bite at a time.
Okay. I mean, that's a strong argument. I think that's true. And then if it gets tied into something that is politicized, administrative items often get kicked to the curb. Um, I'm just supporting your argument, Joe.
Yeah.
I just, it just seems such a politicized moment at this exact moment in time, that I don't want to give any fuel. I just don't want to have any fuel out there for why didn't you did this small little thing. Why didn't you do what you should have done all along? Would be, if I was, trying to be a red ball and, make that case.
Well, Tara, I'm just for grins, I'm going to call the question and I move for approval
Wait,
of
before you do that, Kirsten's on the call. I was going to ask her if she had an opinion, but yeah, we can. Kirsten, do you have an opinion? You want to weigh in here? Are you trying to have this thing?
Yeah, I think avoiding politicism is not a good reason to not put forward a bylaw. I would be against this bylaw because at a time that as a nation, we don't want to be limiting voting. I don't want to do anything that limits people's agency to vote, and that includes if they come the last day and want to register. That's why we meet beforehand. I'm getting differing answers about whether it's hard or not. I heard it's only 50 people. I heard Chris just say it's no big deal. And then but earlier I've heard ESC say it is a big deal. So if it's a big deal, we need to weigh administrative burden against increased voting ability and not bring in political, let's avoid politics into it. That's my thoughts. Thank you for asking.
All right, thank you for that input. Okay, sorry, Joe, back to you.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna move to approve the changes to, what is this called? I don't even know what this is called.
So what we would do is you would move that the committee recommend the full board support a amendment adding a record date to our bylaws. And
Okay.
you could choose any of these, or you could choose an alternative that you wanted to sort of wordsmith here.
And what's the name of this does this bylaw have a name, or is it just
So I would just say record date
record
bylaw.
date? Okay.
You
Okay.
just have a recommend that the board put forward a bylaw amendment to the members adopting a record date. And then if you feel like adopting this Holy Cross style one makes sense, or United Power.
Okay. I move that the committee recommend to the full board to support adding a record date and using the language as written by staff council or board council.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second that with a conversation.
Okay. Okay. So let's have a conversation.
So the conversation is it's a hybrid of to me, I would think so. We do not disenfranchise any new members. Is 30 days would be the cutoff. You can't electronically vote, etc. And then they can go through the paper ones and make sure. Well, the paper wouldn't be mailed out. But if you're a new member, even if you're one of the 50 people, you still can vote at the annual meeting.
So basically, the core amendment with 30 days instead of 45.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty manageable.
Okay.
And that way we kind of solve, and nobody can give us pushback that, hey, we're trying to take people's votes away, because you can show up and vote.
Okay. I can accept that, whatever amendment or
just
change.
as a friendly, if Joe, if you're happy with that 30 instead of 45 as a friendly amendment, then we can then have on the table basically core amendment with 30 instead of 45.
That's fine. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Any other? I'll weigh in. I mean, I think your comments were persuasive. I would support the amendment as modified. So I have no additional comments. So, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor as modified?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that motion carries unanimously. Okay, next item.
So next item we have is a discussion on our community solar garden program. So some of you might recall we had to suspend that program several years ago when Tri-State passed their policy 119, which limited cooperatives to one cooperatively owned or developed community solar garden, which we exercised our right to do that at Sunnyside, but it eliminated third-party community solar gardens, which is what policy 366 covered. And so now that we're leaving Tri-State, we will have the opportunity to reopen community solar gardens to third-party developers if we would like. And also sort of give a public update on this, we have our 4 community solar gardens all have, outside of the 366 policy, all had contracts with us. And those contracts on their face terminate when we leave Tri-State, and staff has been working with those existing community solar gardens to migrate what they're going to look like after after
You should get in touch with Sarah.
their current contracts terminate. So we've got a staff level plan for that. But as far as whether or not and what the board would like our future community solar garden program to look like, I sort of wanted to put that on the committee's radar and let that sort of see what the appetite was for opening that up, as it will become available after April 1st.
Okay. So I'm very comfortable deprecating or retiring that policy. I think we want to get it. I don't think we should go much further than that in this meeting.
Yeah, just officially, a motion from the committee to recommend fully retiring that, and that we will come back in the future with a policy that fits our
new operating environment. Yeah.
Okay. Any thoughts here, Joe, David, Chris?
I just that's fine with me. I just a couple of questions. Is there a lot of potential out there for these solar gardens in our new configuration?
Like, do we have the headspace? Yes.
Yeah, and that's why I think it makes sense to retire this policy that was drafted. I forget what what year it was.
12 years ago.
12 years ago. Yeah, very different
ago,
environment. Obviously our operating environment is changing, but also the technology's changed drastically. So yeah, I would recommend we retire this one officially or delete it officially, and then we'll be Dan and myself and the team will come back with an updated suggestion for how we'll approach this going forward.
Yeah, I just read over all it seems it seemed a little onerous to me, but I don't know, all the steps you guys have to go through. But I was just kind of surprised at how many pages of kind of rules there were. So,
I can, if I could add a little more color there. King Energy, unrelated to LPEA, speaking solely on behalf of the context of my corporation, King Energy does a lot of third-party community solar in Maryland and New Jersey and the East Coast. As a strategy, it is a very cost-effective way to bring community renewable energy into a community, as corporations like King Energy and others will pay for all the capital build out, and then optionally allow community members to subscribe as they wish. And so it's an easy way for the membership to get 10, 20, 40 megawatts of community solar of renewable energy without having to pay for it. There's some trade-offs on the other side that makes for a longer discussion, but opening up that conversation is a good one. There may be a nice opportunity here. Whether or not the board wants to pursue that, I think that's a much longer discussion, but starting that conversation, very healthy. So go ahead, David.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of community solar gardens. And Joe, it is onerous because they are connecting to our grid, and we need to make sure that they're viable and they follow all the rules, because you don't want somebody connecting to the grid and a year later it's all messed up. So I'm all in favor of it. Instead of paying somebody else, we're keeping that generation local. Just a quick question for Chris. I'm in favor of retiring this policy. A new policy, would it work, or is there any incentive we'd want to give for battery storage? Because we are giving incentives.
I think that'd be part of the discussion is kind of our longer conversation about how do we integrate more local sources. One of those is how do you pair it with adequate storage for absorption during peak. And so that would definitely be a subject we'd want to cover in an updated policy.
Yeah, and it'll help on the capacity factor and also help on peak shaving. So it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, and
effectively requires it.
Yeah, and then of course develop something so that you're sharing the upside with whoever's making that investment, because it would also add some capacity credits for us. So,
Okay.
yep.
So motion, is it time to do a motion to retire
I
policy
want to give
366?
Kirsten an
Okay.
opportunity if she wants to comment since she took the time to come to the meeting today. Kirsten,
I'm good, thanks.
okay. Go ahead, David.
No, I'll just make a motion to retire policy 366.
Yeah. Second. Great. All in favor? Hold your hand up.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, that passes. All right, let's knock out the last one.
Yeah, last one's pretty easy and straightforward. When we were sort of working through kind of end of the year reports and stuff like that for the board and board oversight, we were kind of going through policy 102 and noticed that one of the functions of the board of directors is reviewing and improving annual, and it said work plans, forecast budgets, etc. And there really wasn't a work plan document such as it is that goes before the board. What really comes before the board, as you'll recall from going through the budget process, is a capital plan. And so we felt it was better, more precise to just clean that language up, identify what's actually happening, and sort of alleviate any confusion about what is or isn't a work plan. This is a capital plan that the board's approving.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to approve that, or?
Yeah, it'd be a motion to recommend that the board modify policy 102 to change work plan to capital plan.
So move.
Second.
Great. Kirsten, you want to comment here, if any?
No comment, thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Great, motion carries.
Kirsten has her
Kirsten
hand.
had a comment?
Yeah, this is, that was the last item on the agenda, is that right?
That
Yes.
is correct.
Okay, so Graham, when we, at the board meeting, when I said, what are we gonna look at these suggestions from these members from last year? And you said, yeah, we're gonna look them on the policy meeting. Tell me what happened. I'm fine not doing it. We just tell the member to do it themselves. I just need to understand.
I believe that was going to be brought to the board meeting through the president, and so my understanding was that those were passed to a director who was going to sponsor them, and that would be a board member agenda item for the board rather than the committee and analyzing it. Is that
Remind
right,
me.
Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not what you,
Hang on a second.
sorry.
I lost the plot here. Remind me what we're talking about.
So if you recall, in the spring of last year, some members brought forward some bylaw amendments that they wanted to propose, and that got referred to the committee on policies, who came back with a recommendation not to support putting those on a ballot, and that went to the full board, who decided not to support putting that on a ballot. And so they have reapproached some directors about sponsoring that, and that would be I think my understanding on that is that that would be working to get to the agenda for the full board, partially because the director that would be sponsoring them is not here today to discuss them. But other than that, I mean, we've reached the end of our agenda. We did have generally, as the bylaws that I wanted to discuss on the agenda, it has been, I think, reasonably noticed if people wanted to talk about it.
Okay, so just to sort of back that train up a little bit. So what we're talking about right now is hearsay. So there was, right, because the person who would, the board member who would want to sponsor it isn't here. So we can't talk on their behalf.
Hmm.
If they wanted to bring it to committee, they could have come this morning
Hmm.
and said, "Hey, would you guys consider a modification to the proposed agenda, which we could have taken into account."
Hmm.
In the absence of that, there's nothing for this committee to do since we can't act on unless, well, actually, we really can't do anything right now since the
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if it's a forum that you would like to have a discussion in, you could. Feel like it's been agendized. There isn't a recommendation in front of the committee to advance it or not advance it. And I think that even if the committee, it wouldn't necessarily be binding if the committee said, we don't think this should be advanced. It's sort of up to the CEO and the president to set the board meeting agenda. They could still set it on the agenda if they wanted to. Yeah,
yeah,
David. Oh,
So clarifying question, just to make sure I've got it all straight. This was bylaws changes. It was several of them that a
Mhm.
member brought, and
Mhm.
it wasn't correct. And then Dan Huntington brought it up. It went through the COP under Nicole, and then it went out to vote to the board and was voted down. So
Mhm.
it's the exact same bylaws, such as, if I recall
It's
correctly,
it's
that
close.
we should have all live meetings, no Zoom type meetings, that type of. It was like 4 or 5 of them, if I remember
Mhm.
correctly. Okay,
Last year there were 6 of them. Now
6.
there are 4.
Okay,
So they are slightly different, but I did a line by line comparison. I don't find them to be uh substantively different I mean, there are 2 fewer,
all
but
right. And so
still.
so Dan Huntington brought it up, and then it went to the COP. So it'd be the same thing. It might not even go to the COP. It might just go to the board for a vote. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of up to President Pitcher and the what that looks like on the board agenda.
Okay.
And if it's something that I think the committee like I didn't send it around, so I don't know that anybody here is sort of familiar other than if you recall last year generally.
I know.
But yeah.
I mean, I couldn't opine on it without something in writing.
Yeah.
It's
Kirsten sent out the proposal from last year in an email
Mhm.
last week. Hey, what's the timing on this? What's the deadline to put
And
this on
and
the agenda?
and if you don't mind me, I think that's sort of where we are. I don't know that Kirsten was necessarily aware that a different director had been approached about sponsoring this at the board level, and so I think if she had independently wanted to talk about bringing all 6 of them up, we did have bylaws on the agenda for this. Is that correct, Kirsten? I don't know if you were sort of.
Yeah, no. So as I said at the board meeting, I had heard a rumor that somebody had brought in some bylaws. So in my email, I just sent out last year saying, I don't know what this, just so people could see them. I don't know what these 4 are.
Mhm.
I want to make sure that if we say no, we say no in a timely manner. So if they want to
Mhm.
try to get the signatures or vote
Mhm.
or whatever they need, that they can
Mhm.
do that.
Mhm.
So I'm just trying to be responsive, and I'm in the dark.
Mhm.
I haven't seen these 4. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if this director knows to tell them that there's another means to get it on the ballot. So that's where I'm coming from. I just want to make sure if it's going to get addressed, it gets addressed quickly. And if it's not going to get addressed, we just tell them it's not. And I don't know even who them is. We just tell them that it's not addressed.
okay. Well, in the absence of no,
Yeah,
in the absence of a sponsor in this committee, there's nothing further to discuss on the matter. So,
sounds good.
uh,
Thanks.
But
so
to
go ahead, Jeff.
I mean, if a director submitted this, what's the deadline for, say, the board to approve this going forward?
So if the board
Which
wanted to
meeting?
put it on the ballot, it would be at the March meeting.
Okay.
And so I believe that this would be considered at the February meeting, which, is the earliest we can consider it.
That's incumbent on that board member.
Correct.
Mhm.
So
Right.
let's sort of wrap the discussion up on this, please. So it looks like we had a late, Tim arrived late. We were going to wrap this up, Tim, but did you come? Did you want to? I just want to make sure that since you took the time to come, that if you had something you wanted to add in, or please do. Otherwise, we're going to wrap the meeting up.
You're wrapping the meeting up? I thought there was a discussion on another discussion based on the agenda around, well, where is it? I don't see it. Community solar gardens. That was kind of what I was trying to.
Yeah, you missed it. I think we voted to recommend that the board retire policy 366, which is so dated based on tri-state that it doesn't it no longer makes sense in a post tri-state regime. But we did not start a discussion about what to do after that because it's a much longer, bigger discussion. And so this was really just more of an administrative decision to say 366 no longer applies. Let's get it retired so we can start a conversation about what strategically what we want to do with community solar gardens going forward.
Okay, well, yeah. So full disclosure, I am a member of one of those community solar gardens. And so, I guess retiring a policy without another one in place begs the question of, well, what applies and what doesn't apply anymore. And to the owner of the community solar garden, as well as the members of that community solar garden, I would say, what does that mean?
Sure, Tim, I think I can answer that. So the policy right now is suspended. It hasn't been enforced for several years because the board suspended it, I believe, in 2022.
Yeah, I don't recall that, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, so that policy is effectively not enforced right now. And the discussion this morning was a recommendation from COP to delete that policy completely and for the staff to bring forward a replacement prior to April 1st changeover.
And Tim, this might also address your question for all of the existing community solar gardens. Not only they all had individual contracts with LPEA that set forth the terms and conditions of operation. Those on their face terminate when we leave tri-state, and staff has been working on promulgating the new post tri-state contract. So those community solar gardens will continue to operate effectively under the same terms and conditions without any sort of tri-state related terms and conditions going forward. We just need to, as 366 sort of laid the groundwork for any third party that wanted to propose a community solar garden to LPEA going forward, we want to sort of set a policy really for new community solar garden applications. The existing ones will continue under a newly adopted post tri-state contract.
Okay, so yeah, I'm suggesting that we communicate that.
Mhm.
'Cause
We've
it's
been
a whole-
communicating
Yeah.
with the solar gardens for several months, close to a year, on how we're going to migrate this and what it's going to look like and how it's going to work.
Well, I'm just telling you, I'm a member of one of those, and I didn't know that till just now.
Mhm.
So we can say we're communicating, but I would suggest that is falling short. And we had a member ask about that, copy us all, asking the same questions. So that's probably not a committee and policy task, perhaps, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I
We
should
can
say, Tim,
we can suspend a policy based upon some decision for a couple of years ago. Implication of that needs to be communicated, and the fact that anyone who is current member. I assume you've been talking with the actual developers of these four, but some better communication of the implication for someone who is a part of one of those. I would
I
say,
think the idea from staff is that it would have no impact on the
Yeah.
members who are participating at that level. It's more of a,
other than if you read these are suspended, you have the question, what does that mean? And that's what I'm saying. So,
I mean, fair
Uh,
enough, but the idea is that on the member participation level, nothing should change. It's just sort of a between LPA and the developer and sort of how we're organizing that.
right. But okay. All right. I've said what I needed to say.
David,
Thanks.
go ahead.
Yeah, just to help out Tim in communications, if you can just let the developer know, maybe have a couple paragraphs that this is being suspended, it will not impact. We're negotiating to have the developer send it out to the members of each individual community solar garden. So I think that's the population that needs to know what's going on per what Tim's saying. But the conduit for communications to me would be straight through the developer talking with its members. Just a suggestion to Chris.
Yeah. And we could reiterate that in any communications that we have as well.
Yeah, we're like, again, just sort of relying on my commercial experience, my relationships as a community solar provider, my ability, I have a full burden of communication with my off-taker subscribers. It is of no, Petco doesn't, that Baltimore doesn't communicate on my behalf because due to a contractual relationship between me and my off-takers. I would assume the same essential relationship exists here, although I haven't looked closely. If there's a change in policy or there's a change in pricing or there's a change in anything, it's the developer's job to communicate that, not the utility's job.
Yeah. I'm pointing out a communications issue. And we can point to the developer and say, good luck. But I would also suggest that it wouldn't cost us much in any communications we make to say, speak to your developer, the relationship continues as it was before, or whatever. So, anyway, I
Okay.
mean, I got an email yesterday from somebody, another board member, telling us how to communicate at length, right? So I'm just trying to point out that as a member of one of these, there's a question, right? I
Yeah.
happen to also be a board member, and I probably shouldn't be voting on anything having to do with this, but I'm telling you there was a communications issue. So
Fair enough.
thank you.
Okay.
And I realize that's not a committee and policy issue. So
Okay.
appreciate it.
But your point stands, and I think it's a valid one. I think there's nothing further to do at the COP level. So,
Thanks.
okay. All right.
That was it. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for that input. All right. Absent last comments. Yeah, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, again, I'm just checking in as, I don't know, between now and April and then going forward. Graham, what do you see the work of this committee being? Are we just continuing to churn through the old policies and take a look at them? And
Yeah, and as sort of John had said at the end of last year, to sort of really try to, I'm really trying to do easy things like we're doing here, what seemed like easy things, and not overly sort of burden our time and capacity with sort of deep or thorny questions right now until we get through the other side of the transition, try and keep the capacity available to address transition related priorities.
Okay, is there any particular policy like for next month we should start looking at, or okay?
I really honestly am sort of holding space for essentials that came up that we might not have anticipated, and anything else that would be sort of routine evaluation to circle up to that in April or May, perhaps, right? I really, staff capacity wise, I'm trying to prioritize April 1st.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, 45 minutes. Amazing.
Well, if nobody has any other questions, we could suck that meeting up.
Oh, Tim
Tim had
got
one
his
more
hand up.
comment.
Yeah, it's a question. So, with regard again to the community solar garden, so we're not developing any more or allowing any more developed under the previously suspended policy. And Graham, you mentioned that there's a work going on with the current ones to develop a different contract based upon their exit time
Mhm.
frame. So does that mean that there will be a new policy that would be developed?
Mhm.
And is that part
Yep.
of the role of the Committee on Policies to take care of that?
Yes, eventually, right? I think there isn't uh somebody that I'm aware of like knocking on the door such that if we had a new community solar garden policy that was fully vetted by the board by midsummer real would significantly. I mean, I suppose if it became urgent, right? If people came to us and said, if I don't get steel in the ground or things safe harbored by April 15th, I can't develop this. We could see about uh addressing that, but so far I'm not aware of anybody that's approached us with
Yeah,
that sort of development
you know,
urgency.
we don't have any new solar gardens proposed right now.
Mhm.
So I think we have time to take a close look at this, and staff will be working on a draft to bring to the board.
Okay. So just an observation that a a policy might um, promote the idea,
Mhm.
right? Could anyway. So I think there's a question of, from a strategic standpoint, what is it that LPA wants to do with regards to third-party solar gardens, right? So that might be a question that needs to be discussed and addressed prior to developing a policy. Just observation again. So thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Last call. All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you guys. We'll see you later in the month.
Thanks.
Yep.